Hey, what's up? It's Comic 95 the Savior, and for this video, this will be a Rant's Japanese journal. As you can see, messy background, no makeup, messy hair. Yes, you should already know by the time you clicked on this video. But as I always give my disclaimer, this is my channel, my video. These are my feelings, my thoughts. This is a journal style video, meaning this is not me speaking to you nice and professionally and all for show just because I'm on YouTube. Rather, this is a journal to myself, to you, just me being myself, sharing what's on my mind. As always with these journals, because this is me talking and thinking my own thoughts, you are not going to agree with everything that I have to say. You're probably not going to like me by the end of this video if you sit through it all. But that's between you and God. That's not my problem. So anyway, now that we've established that, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I just want to talk about a few random things. So the first thing is, I feel like I did this as a child too, but as I get older, I feel like this is something that I believe so much more strongly in. I'm petty and easy to fall out with, and not for the reason that you're probably thinking, but because I don't put up with crap anymore. I remember even when I first came to Japan, I used to be the kind of person where, I still am, nice, understanding, forgiving. And I feel like it calls me to believe people that, I thought were my friends, aren't really my friends per se. And even dating wise, I used to be okay with people, getting back to me super late. But as I've gotten older, I realized, it's factual, whether it's a guy or a girl, if someone values you, if you are important to them, they will get back to you, and it will not take them days, a day, or even, hours even. If someone genuinely cares about you, genuinely wants to see you, genuinely wants to help you, is really looking out for you, they will make it known. You will not have to guess or question. If you find yourself looking on Google, looking on YouTube for answers and stalking them and asking your friend or their friends to check out, do stuff for you, etc., you have your answer. They don't care about you. And it's just factual. So people will make up excuses and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just really busy. I was just whatever. No. When we love and care about things, we make time for it. And with that said, I find that I don't give second chances anymore. If I'm trying to talk to you, and let's say I am legitimately busy because I'm working. Okay. Let's say I'm cleaning my house, for example, I just got through doing, which is why my stuff is all folded up back here. I was mopping the floor. Okay. And let's say I don't message you back for 3 hours. And instead of the person getting back to me after they get my message, they try to play the same game. So they wait, a couple hours, or they might even wait a day or something, childish games like that. It's who the hell doesn't have their phone for a whole day? Get out of here. So the old me would have been oh, maybe they're just busy. Maybe they're just doing whatever. No, maybe you're not important. So that's what you have to start telling yourself. And I won't lie, part of me feels like I should just go for it, let people, be that sunny weather friend there when, things are good, there when they need you, there when they're bored or whatever. But then it's where's the self-respect in that? While you're jumping through hoops to get this person's attention, or while you're sitting around waiting on the sidelines for when, when they're ready to, pick you up, so to speak, why not just hang out or date people that are always going to be wanting to see you, that always want to hang out with you, that always want to talk to you? Of course, people have a life and do their own thing. I'm grown too. I work. I understand. I'm not saying you have to be there every single time I call. Every time I want to go out to eat, you got to, be in the mood for tacos too. That's not what I'm talking about. But I mean, if it's a regular thing, you're just never available. You never have time. You can never message back quickly. It's always only when it's convenient for you. But what about me? Maybe I don't want to wait until after midnight to talk to you. You have all of those hours in between the time you get home. If you choose to take a 2-hour shower and text back 50 other people and play games online for 3 hours and watch a movie before you decide to talk to me, clearly I'm not too important to you. That's how I see it. So yeah, it's funny how people don't understand that. So I recently let go of some friends because of this. I have a guy friend actually recently. We were supposed to actually go out today just to have coffee. And I was I don't want to go out for a coffee 8 o'clock at night. And so the plan was going to be to go to an izakaya. And so I was like, oh, okay, like, maybe, me and one of my other friends, she might be able to go too. And so we all like made the plan together. But then, of course, sure enough, nobody's texting, nobody's replying back, everybody's taking hours to reply. I don't have time for this crap. Like, I'm just done. Like, I drop people like that now. And so, yeah, like now they're like, oh, like, you're not going? Why? What changed? What happened? I have a life. I'm not going to sit around all day and wait for all of your other plans to get canceled. And then me, your last, most boring plan Z, then you're like, oh, okay, since everything else fell through for me, I guess I'll go hang out with Rent. I don't do that. If I'm that far down on your list, I'm that low on your list, let me do you the favor. I will remove myself. Now you don't have to worry about hurting my feelings or thinking about anything. Go ahead and do you. Live your own life. Have fun with everybody. Like, that's the way that I see it. I'm not going to sit around waiting for you and, wondering, what are you thinking? Did I say something bad? Did I say something wrong? Like, and yeah, like it saves you so much time, saves you so much money. I delete chats. Like, if you think you're gonna leave me on red for like 6 hours, etc., I'll just delete the chat and excuse myself. You message me back, oh, what happened? What? Gone. So I don't play those games anymore. And I think back to how stupid I was. One of the first guys that I started dating, I was literally waiting for days for this guy to message me back, and I didn't see any of this as a red flag. I just thought he was genuinely busy. He's a salary man. And now here I am years later, and I'm like, man, I was an idiot. I would never do that for a guy now. I've had my moments where I legitimately like completely forgot to message people back, or I've had like my notifications off and I didn't realize somebody messaged me. But I promise you, if I cared about you, you would be in my mind, and I'm going to remember, oh, I didn't message this person back. I'm going to look through my phone. If days can go by and your name does not cross my mind, you are of no importance to me. And it's the same thing in reverse. If days can go by, hours and hours, they can make it to the end of the day, go to bed, and they didn't think to send you that good night text. They didn't think to tell you good morning. They didn't think to, continue the conversation. They weren't excited about what you were talking about enough that when they got off work, you're one of the first people that they message. If I'm your 1 a.m., 2 a.m. booty call where you're like, I'm bored, I can't fall asleep, let me message Ren. I don't want you no more. You ain't my friend no more. You ain't my boyfriend no more. Bye. So I think a lot of you girls need to do the same thing. Like, I get messages from people all the time. I see comments all the time. I see people talking about it in forums all the time. And it's like you're answering your own question. If you're having to compete for someone's attention, it's because they don't want to see you. They don't want to be with you. They don't care about you. Because when you are important, you don't get off of that person's mind, just like how they don't get off of yours. When I love a guy, I'm thinking about him all day. I can be at work and grading my students' papers, and I'm imagining him busting through, my classroom doors and fucking me during my lunch break. Like, if that's not crossing, if that's not crossing your mind when you're at work, or shall I say, if that's not crossing his mind when he's at work, if he's not thinking about you and dreaming about you and wanting to message and call you, and that doesn't cross his mind during that day, it takes him 5 days, 2 weeks. He doesn't message you until an hour before you're supposed to meet, or 10 minutes after because you didn't show up. Girl, come on, think to yourself. So, but that's just one story. So the next thing I want to talk about was, I feel like I'm getting tired of like other things too. Some parts of me wants to hold on to some relationships and friendships just because of the longevity of it, because I've known these people for 10 plus years and they're not really all that bad. But I'm starting to get tired of, friends not being there when you expect them to be. So I won't say this friend's name, mainly because I know you're probably subscribed, but there's this guy friend of mine, and we go way back to junior high school. And something that really made me upset is I told you guys about, my situation that, came up recently where I literally had no job, no money, no nothing. And I'm not the type of person that goes around and shares my business with everybody. If I'm struggling, something's going on with me, it stays with me and, my family. Like, I'll tell my mom and that's it. Like, I don't go around telling everybody what's going on with me. And even with her, like, the only reason why I will let my mom know is because obviously I need her help. I need money. But it's like, if it's not her, I don't even tell my boyfriend a lot of stuff that goes on with me. So, yeah, I only told this friend because they like begged me to go into detail about my situation. And then they claimed not only that they were going to help me, because I was thinking like, oh, just a few dollars would do, like that'll help me, to get by, voluntarily offered to give me hundreds. And then, of course, when that time comes, that friend is nowhere to be found. So it's like one part of me is like, I'm fine, I'm not dying, I'm alive, and they're not obligated to help me. They're my friend, not my, mother, not my husband, not whatever. But to me, it's the principle of it. It's one thing for you to not be able to help someone. It's another thing to volunteer yourself to do two things. One, it's one thing to squeeze information out of somebody, then to pretend like you're going to help them on your own, then to volunteer to go above and beyond what they're even asking for, and then to bail out on them. Like, what if I really was like in a dire situation where I wasn't going to be here the next day if this friend didn't help me? And I find it to be super insulting. And then also I can help but to think like, well, you're just asking me so you can go back and tell the rest of our old group, our old friends or whatever. Like, it's just really rude, really insulting to me that, you would do that like as an adult. And this particular friend has a child too, so it's not even like they don't understand the concept of money. Like, we're grown, we're pushing 30. So again, I'm grown. My money issues are my issues, but you get what I'm saying. That would be like having a friend that's like homeless out in the street, and you see them begging, and you're like, man, what happened to you? How did you end up on the street? How did you get here? And they're like, oh, life just happens. And you're like, no, man, tell me. Come on, let's go to McDonald's. Tell me what happened. And you're sitting there and you're telling them your story, and they're like, wow, like, can I help you? And then you say, well, maybe a few dollars so I can buy myself a pair of socks and, get myself a bottle of water. And they say, no, you know what? I can give you a few $100s. I'm going to buy your groceries for the month. I'm going to get you, a nice cheap shelter, somewhere to stay at for a month. I'll get back to you in a few days. They message you the next day, acting like things are normal, just regular conversation. The day after that, they messaging you too, acting like things are normal, having regular conversation. And then they're gone on the day that they're supposed to actually help you. They don't volunteer, no more FaceTime calls, or you're homeless, so you won't have that. No more stopping, around the corner by your block. No more speaking to you, etc. Well, I had this situation. I had a friend who was pretending like they were going to help me. And not just any friend. This was a really good friend of mine. So it's not somebody that I just barely know or just met. We have history. And I'm not like in a tears like mood, but it's, it hurt me. It's like after all these years, you're still playing kiddie games and pretending to have stuff that you don't have and pretending to be someone that you're not. Like, I didn't ask you for that much money. I never asked you for help. I didn't want to share my story with you. And I really only did it because I felt like maybe you can actually help me because you implied that. And then you just disappear without any explanation. And I bet the same friend's going to try to walk back in my life like nothing ever happened. I didn't tell them anything yet, but I'm kind of like debating. It's like, should I, mention to them, oh, I thought you were going to help me? Or like, should I just let it go? And I feel like I should just let it go. But for me, if I do let it go, we're definitely like done talking. Like, I'm not going to hate this person, but I can't view you as a friend anymore. Like, that's not something that you lie and joke about. Like, that could have been, not necessarily life or death situation, but the difference between having a roof over my head and food in my stomach and having neither. So that just really bothers me that, people are like that. And this friend in particular used to pretend to be rich when we were in school. He did come from an affluent family, had money, but not like that. So I'm going to feel really weird if you see this video. But if you do see it, now you know how I really feel. You hurt me. So just letting you know. Because I did need your help. But yeah. So off of that little friendship stuff, the next thing I want to talk about. I had something really interesting come up on Twitter. If you're not following me, please do it at Comic95. The link is in the description. Please follow me on Twitter. But yeah. So this girl, she replied back to one of my tweets that I made in regards to the new stimulus check that's supposed to be, distributed. And I didn't directly reply to anyone, but I made 2 tweets in which I was talking about the situation with the stimulus checks and how basically the people that are complaining about it are being hypocrites. Like, you're talking about how stimulus checks are a waste of money, but you have no intention of sending yours back to the government. You're going to use it. So shut up. And secondly, not just that, you also have the people that make too much money that have the audacity to talk about how stimulus checks are a waste of money and not needed. I have been different feelings on that, which I won't necessarily get into. But in a nutshell, of course, I'm not going to say no to free money. So with that said, I'm in agreement with them. So yeah, I made those 2 tweets, which clearly, but without directly stating it because there's not enough space, but clearly implied sarcasm and clearly implied I am in support of the checks. This woman replied back. And I can't tell if she's white or black because, of course, like most people on Twitter, she's a coward, doesn't have a real profile picture, and she had like a picture of Kamala Harris and like two old white ladies or something in the picture, but has the Black Lives Matter hashtag, and she shared a bunch of stuff about Black Lives Matter and gave opinions about things like white privilege, etc., which led me to believe the person might actually be black. But I don't care what race this person is. The point is that I replied back because she said to me that I should sit this one out and that Americans know what they need. And so I had to jump in. I'm like, I am an American. And I know that you need to reread what I tweeted because I am in support of stimulus checks. So instead of just admitting that she was wrong, then her reply back was, well, it says you live in Kyoto. Now, I didn't bother going into detail because y'all know this from watching my channel. I actually forgot to change that on my Twitter bio. I haven't been in Kyoto in years. But I live in Osaka, for those of you that do not know, because some people keep asking me, like, where do you live? Where do you live? I live in Osaka. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that. But anyway, yeah, so I said to her, like, have you ever heard of travel before? Like, living in another country or being in another country, because just because your bio says a city doesn't mean that you actually live there. It could just mean you're visiting there. Does not mean that that is your nationality. So she just said, oh, well, your bio says whatever. So I had to check her there too. And again, another scapegoat. It's like, that has nothing to do with the argument at hand, though. Where I live doesn't mean that my opinion is invalid, because you would also say that my opinion is valid if I were in support of the checks, which I was. But to her knowledge, the reason why my nationality of being Japanese, which I'm not, was being used against me was because I didn't agree with her stance. So then in her second tweet, she tried to do a half apology. She apologized for having a knee-jerk reaction. Is this how just tweeted me again? Anyway, so yeah, what was I about to say? Yeah, so then she did just tweet me again, like, well, I'm in the middle of talking about this. This is going on right now. So anyway, what was I about to say? Yeah, so crap, look, my mind is like going because I'm mentally thinking of what to reply back there. So yeah, she tried to put in a half apology, and so she apologized for being wrong and having a knee-jerk reaction, but then threw in the fact that oh, well, don't people's voices deserve to be heard that don't qualify for the check, that are still in need of it? And I'm like, okay, so basically what you're trying to say is I'm wrong, but I don't want to be wrong. So instead of admitting that I'm wrong and just saying flat out sorry because I was wrong, I'm going to do a half apology, but also try to find a point where you're wrong too, so that you can feel like my tweet was worthy of being tweeted and that I was right. Like, this is stupid, childish stuff. I can't even believe that I'm thinking about this. But again, this is my journal. This is going on in my life right now today. So yeah. So anyway, I replied back and I was like, I explained what I just said to you. The purpose in my tweet was replying to people that were saying that the check was useless, but they have no intention in returning it. You're going to use it anyway. And secondly, people that make too much money don't have the right to speak on this topic. That was it. And then I left it at that. So then she just replied back and said, did you not read my apology as well as my statement about possibly not understanding that line of your profile? Oh, well, good night. So give me 1 second so I can check this hole again, and then we're done. Okay, I'm sorry. I need to stop. Like, I swear, like, my goal is not to be a mean girl, but I hate that like, the world has become so much of specifically for Americans, this is one thing that I do value more about Japanese people after having been here. And this is coming from somebody that does love a good debate. But I feel like Americans have gotten to the point, not just Americans, but I'm speaking on Americans because I am American and I personally live in Japan. So I can speak on these two cultures. I know somebody's going to say, oh, Europeans, oh, Jamaicans. Like, oh, okay, I don't live in those places, never been there. So I'm speaking on what I do personally know. I've worked with tons of Europeans, but that's another story. I'm speaking on actually living in the country, knowing how the culture works. And I'm pretty sure Europe is pretty much the same as the US, but I'm talking about America specifically. I hate that everything is so opinion-based, and not just opinion-based, but based on being right, that people don't stop and look at facts, don't stop and check things, don't stop and read things. It's just a matter of, let's jump to conclusions based off of this little bit of information that we believe to be true, basically. So I'm going to waste your time and finish my journal and say what she said. 'Cause she messaged me perfect timing. But then she replied back, "Did you not read my apology as well as my statement about possibly not understanding that line of your profile? Oh, well, good night." Because I mentioned the fact that where you live has nothing to do with your nationality. So, of course, I had to end it with one final reply. I hate to waste my time on this because, like, anybody that's following me, I hate that, like, part of it too, because then they see all of your long going back and forth tweets. But haven't had a good Twitter argument in a while. And I was thinking about that recently too. But anyway, where is it? Okay, yeah, she definitely gave me a nice little boost to the top though. But yeah, let me find that tweet. Okay. So then I said, "I did." You replied while I was typing because she literally replied her apology. I didn't see it until after I already sent my tweet, which I wanted to send that one anyway, so that wouldn't have changed anything. Then I said, "Wouldn't call it an apology though, since you tried to create another argument defense in that same tweet. Also, you didn't misunderstand my location. You assumed my nationality based on it as an excuse to make my opinion invalid. Oh well." So that's that. So I'm done. I'm not arguing with people that I don't know online anymore, but I lied. It's hard not to, especially like when people reply to your own stuff, but that's what I was gonna get at. I will never like have the balls to do that. Like even if I disagree with someone, if they're not like a celebrity figure or something, which I'm not really. So with that said, like I don't even like reply to people's stuff. If I disagree with you have to say, I just keep scrolling. I don't waste my time sending direct replies, especially to like smaller, tweeters, so to speak, because it's too weird, too personal, especially when it's not something that's super controversial. And now I'm going to get into the controversial part where you're going to disagree with me on this. So she tried to throw in the fact, like I said, that there are people that, do need the checks that don't qualify for it. And I'm not going to disagree with that. I can believe they can use it, but their reason, if you don't qualify for the check, but you're in need of the check, then more than likely you are either doing something illegal or there's more to that, in which case this has nothing, the purpose of the checks are not to help poor people. Let's just get that away. It's not to help get you out of poverty. I'm not going to get into my stance on what I believe the government should do in that circumstance, but the reality is people seem to have that confused. The purpose of the stimulus checks are not to pull you out of poverty. Should the government do this? Should they do whatever? I don't know. You have to decide. Do you want to live in a capitalist, communist, whatever type thing? There's a lot to that. Socialism, whatever. There's a lot to that. And I'm not going to, open up that bag today. We're just going to look at, from the outside. For a lot of the people that apparently are not getting stimulus checks, it is either because you are an illegal immigrant in the US, undocumented, whatever, you're not there legally, and or you are someone that is behind on child support, whatever the case might be. Whatever way it goes, you're doing something that is illegal. Whatever your stance is on these issues are not the argument at place or at hand. It is simply factual. So really what I was referring to was talking about rich people, but I didn't say that. I just said if you don't qualify for it. But if you look at the first line, when you're talking about, hypocrisy, etc., that should kind of answer your question, that people that don't plan to send it back shouldn't be given their opinions on it if you don't even qualify for it. For those that, there's two different kind of people. There's people that qualify for it, think we shouldn't get it, but then they're not going to return the money. Then there's people that are really jealous and don't like the fact that poor people or people that don't have a lot of money are getting free government money. Now they're so concerned about the government wasting money on, giving out checks, but have no problem with the, millions of dollars, if not billions, in tax breaks that they get. So with that said, that's what I was getting at. So that is a fair argument that was not made clear, but you can clearly use context in the first two sentences that I made or whatever. So this is getting too nerdy and technical for a stupid tweet. But my point is that, yeah, like I hate that people, can just apologize. Like all you have to do is say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood." That's it. End of conversation. But now you made it go on further and not trying to, back your way out and sound like a victim. Like, "Oh, you just won't let it go." No, you did that to yourself. You gave a half-ass apology. You say sorry and then trying to throw in another point. But my point was, yeah, technically I can argue that they don't have a voice either. Somebody that doesn't pay taxes isn't obeying the law. Like, I kind of don't see why you deserve a check. I'm sorry, just being real. The reality is, and this is where I hate to say this, but I have to actually agree with Republicans on this. And y'all gonna kill me, but I'm gonna be myself and be real. I am not a Democrat. I don't like Republicans either, and that's why I said that I'm truly in between. I have opinions where I have beliefs and opinions that agree with things on both sides. I'm annoyed by both sides. I do not like hardcore radical liberals, and I don't like hardcore radical, conservatives either. They're both annoying to me. I don't like them. Unfortunately, by default, because you have one party that's racist and one that mostly isn't, what are you going to naturally vote for a lot of the time? Okay. With that said, I do believe and agree with a lot of the stuff that Democrats do stand for, but I can also use my own brain and think for myself and see that there are a lot of things that I do agree with and that do make sense that Republicans do as well. Not just the crazy people in Trump's party. I'm talking about normal Republicans, excuse me, that have their own brain and can think for themselves. What is that in my mouth? It's like dead skin. Sorry. Anyway, one moment. Okay, sorry. Had to handle that. But yeah, so I got what she was trying to say even with that, but it's like now you're bringing up a completely different argument. My point is that people that don't qualify, somebody that's rich telling poor people that they don't deserve money, basically, is an irrelevant argument. And in this case, like I said, the purpose in the check is not supposed to help get people out of poverty. If you don't have money, $2,000, even if they gave you, $5,000 in a single check, it's not going to magically save your life if you're poor. You need a lot more than that. Because then the other question is, how are you surviving all of this time without the stimulus check then? If you're not somebody that qualifies for it and you're not here legally even. So I'm not going to get into the whole argument about immigration, but I will also bring up the fact that this is the argument that I see white people make a lot and Black people kind of buy into as well. The purpose in those rules and laws and amendments, etc., were made to help Black people and allow us to have rights and citizenship, not to help foreign people that are not Black. Americans, specifically descendants of slaves, not Black people from other countries, but specifically Black Americans whose ancestors directly came from the South. Their sweat, blood, and tears built this country. It was to help us with having citizenship, not foreign people that come to the country illegally. And for those of you that don't want to hear that argument, gotta throw this in here too. If you like Japan has an even stricter immigration policy than the US has, just to let you know. So with that said, it's really funny that people just focus on how things go in the US and don't talk about that with Japan. But I will say that also in Japan's defense, they do what the US needs to do. And this is where I don't like the way that he handled it, but I like the idea of what Trump was trying to do. And I hate to say that because I do not like Trump, but I like the idea of what he was trying to do with, as he said, putting America first. But unfortunately, his putting America first became more of a attacking other countries and saying racist things, which that part I couldn't stand for. But the reality is we do a lot more for people that are living in the country illegally, that don't have interest in working, that don't want to get jobs, that don't want to go to college, that don't want to do anything, than we do for people that are actually working and fighting to make a living for themselves. If you are at the bottom, end of what they consider as a working class, you basically don't qualify for anything free. You make too little money to live a normal life, but you also make too much money to get government support. For example, when I grew up in school, I told you guys about how little clothing, how little everything I had, but my mom always made too much money for us to qualify for discounts. Too much money to get discounted health insurance. Too much money to get, free or reduced lunch. Too much money for food stamps. Too much money, to, qualify for Section 8. Everything was too much. So you're kind of forced. Either, that's why they said they're getting rid of the working class. Either you choose to be in poverty, like the people that qualified for those things, or you find some type of way to bring yourself up to the higher end of working class where you don't need that, where you're making, $100,000, $80,000, $90,000 a month, which that's a lot of money when you're by yourself. But when you throw in several kids, that's nothing, especially if you're a single mother. So that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to get into that part. Like I said, that could be a whole separate video, but that was the part that just made me upset. It's like, that would be a different argument to be had, but just admit that you're wrong. Or better yet, don't tweet to people that you don't know Now, my tweet is public and so is my Twitter. So, like, I don't mind it. But it's like, if you're going to be loud, like, don't be wrong, too. So, yeah. And then, like, trying to play the whole, oh, like, I said I'm sorry. And I'll give her that. At least she did say she was sorry. I'll give her that. But again, it was a half apology. Like, my dad does that all the time. If you're going to say you're sorry, end it at saying I'm sorry. Don't say I'm sorry and then try to add another argument to make why you were right, if you get what I mean. So instead of just saying, oh, I'm sorry, I did jump ahead. I did instantly react to it without reading it or thinking it over. But here's where you're wrong. Technically, people do deserve a voice. Don't you think these people, like, don't try to dig that deep. We only have 140 characters, or however many characters we get. We can't go into that whole long argument with that tweet. And if you read the first 2 sentences, you would know what I was getting at. So don't try that with me. So, whatever. I can't believe I just put that much energy into some drama with some Twitter girl whose race I don't even know. And clearly she don't know mine either because she thought that I was Japanese. But, which makes me think she must be a white woman. Because I've had white people do that too. Like, I remember I got into an argument, I think it was on Fox or BuzzFeed, where it was, like, I think it was Fox. It was Fox and BuzzFeed. I got into an argument on BuzzFeed with white people over washing chicken because they thought that it was unnecessary, and I was talking about how it is. And I got into an argument with white people before on Fox News about two sets of twins marrying each other and living together in the same small apartment. And I talked about how, you know, that was creepy. No, it was even worse. It was a couple. It was the twin case, and it was a couple case where it was a couple that got married. And I think they like had, I don't know where it was. Anyway, the twin case, I said that was creepy. And then I think there was another case where someone in the comments had talked about how somebody in their family married an in-law there. So for example, let's say that your sister gets married to this guy, and that guy, you know, your brother-in-law now, he has a brother, and you end up dating and marrying your brother-in-law's brother. I talked about how that's nasty and borderline incestuous, incestual, whatever you call it. And yeah, white people were not having it. And even a black person jumped in, was talking about her situation. And I'm like, this is the problem with arguments nowadays with Americans. Your situation does not make it factual. Just because this is you does not make it factual. It doesn't work that way. Just like how you'll have people that, and this is a very controversial topic too, but there'll be people that do drugs for the entirety of their pregnancy. And I'm talking about the green plant that everybody loves. People will do stuff like Kush during their whole pregnancy and drink alcohol, and they'll preach to you about how nothing happened to their baby and it was relaxing, etc. And then it's like, okay, that was fine for you, but how do you explain all of these other cases where something did go wrong, something did happen? There are people that didn't know they were pregnant, allegedly, made it throughout their entire pregnancy, you know, binge drinking. There's other people who the slightest, you know, whatever, technically might have resulted in them having a miscarriage or, you know, stillborn baby or whatever the case might be, or a child with, you know, some type of mental issues, you know, Down syndrome, whatever the case might be. So, of course, some things can happen inevitably, even if you do everything right. But you get my point, the increase of those chances of something, you know, going wrong, something happening. So, yeah, it just amazes me how people like try to use their own family member to justify it. So because your mom did this, or because your sister or you did it, that makes it okay. It makes it factual. What? So, oh, my cousin married another cousin, and their kid didn't come out, you know, with issues. So it's fine. Okay. So whatever, I'm done with that. It's just I hate getting into political arguments because it's like people can't think for themselves. It's like people just think whatever your party tells you to think, you believe it, no matter how ridiculous, crazy, whatever it is. You're just all on board for it. And in this case, like politics aside, read. If you're gonna say something stupid, read first. And my comment section is always full of that. There's people that don't watch the video, don't read the description, don't read other comments, but are quick to tell you what they think. And then when they're wrong, instead of admitting, oh, I was wrong, oh, I misunderstood, then it gets put back on me. It's like, oh, well, your video shouldn't have been that long, Ben. I would have understood it. Or it'd be like, oh, well, they'll find some other excuse to defend their stance instead of just saying, dang, she is right, I was wrong. Like, they can't do that. Too much pride. And so I know I have pride. And with that said, because I don't want to look stupid like you, I make sure I read and watch everything if I'm going to bother to leave a hateful comment. Just that simple. And same thing goes, like, even the dislike bar. Like, I don't even care about that anymore. To me, it actually kind of makes me happy in a sense, because, like, if what I'm saying, like, triggered you and made you think that much that you got angry enough to do that, good. I'm glad that I was the person to do that. There's so much, like, fake and phony crap out there on the internet where everyone is literally, just a puppet. They say whatever. Sorry, notifications every time I try to make this video. People literally, just say whatever it takes to make everyone happy. And if that means not talking about politics, not talking about religion, not talking about the real world, anything to make money, anything to keep their fans happy, they will do it. And I never, like I said before, I will stay with that. I never want to be at that level. I would rather have my video dislike ratio be at, 99% to 1 like. That is fine. As long as that one person is still listening to me and still like what I have to say, I'm clearly doing something. So that's the way that I see it. I'm never going to like be a total sellout where my whole channel was based around trying to be politically correct, make people happy. And no, my goal is not to purposefully offend or, be rude to people, but want to be real. Like, think for yourself. And like I said, with the political standpoint, like, we do a lot of stuff for people that are not living in the US legally. And I do think it's very unfair because here I am, I'm legal, I'm a descendant of slaves. I don't even have the right to have a normal lunch. And we're giving thousands of dollars and, getting health care and meals, etc., and discounts for people that aren't even living here legally. What country in the world allows you to just come over and say, oh, we're going to stay here because our country, is going through crap or it's not so good? Nowhere. You can't do that in Japan. And people are okay with that here, but for some reason in the US, America gets flack for that. So we're going to have an argument in the comments, I can already tell. And I'm prepared. I'm ready for it. So whatever. That's that. I'm just saying that. I hate when people don't think for themselves, when people can't admit that they're wrong, and when people pretend to like be your friend, but they're not available like a normal friend. That you're their backup friend. You're there when I'm not doing anything, all of my plans get canceled. You're that friend. Just when I want somebody to hang out with, just when I need somebody to talk to, want some eye candy, whatever, I'll hit you up. That type of friend. I don't need that. Or the type of friend, like I said, that pretends to care about what's going on with you and pretend like they're going to help you when, you're in need. And then they bail out on you. Like, why even do that? Like, how evil? And then the last thing that I want to say, because I was going to make this a separate video, but I'm going to keep this here too. I told you guys about, the black girls that I hang out with that I previously worked with. I don't know why they do this. Like, it really irritates me. So I decided to play their game too. And it's funny because we never talk about it when we meet each other either, but we all know that we're doing it. People will literally like ask direct questions that require long responses in the group chat. And then when you answer the question, they don't respond back to it. Like, people will wait like a day before even reading the message, and then they'll just move on to another topic that's similar to the same one. And it's like, you think I'm gonna waste my time replying to this when you didn't even reply to the first message that I sent you? And so if y'all think I talk a lot, y'all should see what they be talking about. So they normally like will have like these super like deep discussions about like, black issues or whatever. And so one of the girls who I told you like really is anti-mixed relationships, she won't say it. She claims that she doesn't mind, but like she feels like you're compromising yourself and that you shouldn't be speaking on, behalf of black people, black rights, black issues if you're in an interracial relationship, which I'm no dummy. I get what she's trying to say, but I disagree with it. So anyway, she shared a meme where we're showing this black girl talking about how she doesn't date, weak black men, whatever. But this girl, went off with a white guy. And then in the next slide, she was asking for the black guy to help her after this white guy had her tied up. And so I'm thinking like, okay. And I forgot what the exact like comments were on that one. I think it just said for her, her just crying out for help. But I'm thinking to myself, if anything, it's the other way around. Like, black women are the least likely to date outside of their race. It's normally the black guy that goes off with the Becky that, has no interest in a black girl as soon as he comes up or, gets a white girl, period. Because a lot of the girls they be with, that's another story. We're not going to get into that in this video. But yeah, so I'm thinking to myself, that's why I said this inside the comment. I was like, that's not the way that it normally happens. If anything, it's the other way around. But even then, my loyalty is with my race, not the individual. If I see that you've clearly made a mistake and you're in trouble, I will stand up for you and I will help you if I can within reason, as long as my life ain't being put in the line. But I don't see myself as doing it for you. It's for us, is how I see it. However, at the same time, I don't let an example of some black guy that's dating some white girl that's using him for money, destroy my image of interracial relationships either. It is very much indeed possible for you as a black man or as a black woman to truly like and fall in love with someone who is white or any other race for that matter. And I say this as somebody that's in an interracial relationship with someone who is not white. But so this isn't normally something talked about because black and Asian is a rare relationship, but it's the same concept basically, where people act like if you are dating outside of your race, you have to be talking or thinking negatively about your own. And not just that, you're incapable or you're undeserving of support from your community all of a sudden. It's like we made this whole little like stupid tribe rule type thing, like where you have to stay inside of this box and, stay with whatever black men happen to be available to you. So whatever. And so like even the meme itself, like the whole structure of it. And so I say this, like you can tell that a black guy must have made this meme. So whatever. So of course she didn't agree with my stance on it and didn't want to argue with me. So she just didn't say nothing, and neither did the other girl. They just moved on. But then she sent like a link to some other article about, being fetishized as a black woman. And I'm thinking to myself like, oh, if only y'all knew I have a whole YouTube channel about this. But I didn't say nothing. I was like, I'm not about to waste my time reading this and type you a whole paragraph you did not reply. So I left it alone. And then my other coworker like just wrote a sentence saying, oh, it was a good article or whatever. But I know she's probably thinking like, oh, why didn't Rennie reply? I'm like, that's why. Like, I'm not wasting my breath on you all. They don't agree with anything I have to say about interracial dating, or interracial relationships, I should say, or being mixed. So it's just too much, but I hate that little silly game. And then like whenever we hang out and meet each other, nobody acknowledges the fact that we all play that little passive aggressive game where if we send a message and nobody replies, we wait a while to reply to the next person, or we don't reply at all. Or the other game that they play is also same game, but if you disagree with somebody, like we had I said this before, but we had like a whole debate about the McDonald brothers, like if they were done wrong. And I was the odd man out. I felt like I forgot his name. Kroger? Whatever his name was, I think it was Kroger, the guy that came in and like stole the business from them. I felt like what he did was wrong and that it was morally wrong and that I got what he was doing. But how would you feel, if the shoe was on the other foot? Golden rule. So they disagreed with me and we went back and forth for days. But it was good to talk about something that wasn't race related. So I was happy. And again, like we're all friends at the end of the day, but it was obvious that everybody like got heated up from it. So like nobody wanted to talk. Nobody wanted to talk to me. And so I was just like, whatever. Like I don't care. Like it's stupid that they play that little game. Like they'll ignore you for like a day or two or whatever. Like things have to calm down and go back to normal. And we had a similar argument. I talked about this a while ago in an old video where one of the girls, she got upset because I talked about how I don't understand why people sign up for the JET program when they can work for international school. Like I get it. Like the pay might be enticing for some people because you can get paid, hundreds of dollars more, depending on your experience and, I guess how you do your interview and, your degree, your qualifications, etc. But there's no guarantee where you get placed. And unless you're lucky, a lot of people that don't get mentioned so much because they're quieter about their experience, they can end up getting placed with a group of people, management, whatever type team. I'm not on the JET program, as you can tell, where whoever I'll say recruiter for lack of a better word, the person kind of in charge of your JET experience is a jerk. And I've seen this happen to several different people, mostly Black, but a few white people too, where they kind of get put in the middle of nowhere. Everyone else is closer to one place, and it's impossible for you to really, meet up with them because it's inconvenient for you, or where you're kind of like the odd one out and they kind of have a clique formed and you're on the outside of it. It makes your experience awful. Sure, from the JET program and you're lucky and you get placed in like Osaka or, Tokyo, more than likely you're fine because you're around tons of other stuff, tons of other people. But if you're somebody that gets placed in the middle of nowhere, nowhere's town or nowheresville, Japan, your experience, unless you're just a really happy-go-lucky person and truly here just for Japan, your experience is going to be awful. And the reality is, nobody wants to talk about this either, but there's a lot of people on the JET program that use it because they can't get hired, in Japan through normal means as easily. Because, like I said, let's be real, the preference for teachers here is generally someone that is either American or British or, Canadian, etc. If you're from any other English-speaking country or any other country for that matter, you're not a preferred teacher. But to my understanding, when these public schools hire people, etc., they don't really care too much about who they get from the JET program because the JET program is established. It's their, contractor, whatever. Like, they trust them, basically. So I'm not trying to throw any shade, but just being real, like people that are from Africa or from, island countries, the Caribbean, etc., you're oftentimes not considered as a native English speaker, even although you are. And again, it really comes down to two things. One, a matter of accent. Two, ignorance, because a lot of people don't know that people from these continents and countries, whatever, can speak English as their native language. And on top of that, of course, it can also come down to appearance, from your skin complexion to, being physically attractive, etc. So we're not going to get into all of that stuff in this video, but she lost it after that. She was really upset with me for like a full, day or two, whatever, like didn't want to talk to me. It was like so petty and childish. And she still like holds that, whipped her. Cause I remember, like I said to you guys, literally a year ago from this time, she brought that up during us having lunch together. And it really like pissed me off. It's like, why are you trying to bring up an old argument? Like we had this, dispute literally like 7 months ago. Like drop it. It's done. Like shut up. So whatever. She never forgot that. And my stance didn't change. Like she was trying to lie and pretend like, people don't come to Japan, on the JET program or any program for that matter, and aren't secretly hoping to be in either Osaka, Kyoto, or Tokyo. And she's like, no, that's not true. Like I didn't care where I get put. Her and this other white girl was saying that too. And so I said to them, like, that's great that that's not you, but for the average person, that's where they want to be put. And so of course the other black girl didn't have my back either, because like she's not the argumentative type. She's more of the, people pleaser, make everybody happy type thing. And not just that, what was I going to say? None of the people I was talking to initially joined the JET program for the reason of coming to Japan in particular. They had worked in other countries. So, for example, the white chick had spent, I think, like 10 years or something in South Korea. So it's like, you're a prime example. You're already experienced, you've been abroad, and your purpose in joining the JET program wasn't to specifically come to Japan, an easy way to get here. It was literally just for the experience of travel and saying that you've worked in this country, basically. Not everybody can relate to you. So they were trying to act like they had no idea what bad reviews on the JET program was. I kind of want to be petty and literally send in the group chat a link showing them people talking crap about the JET program. But I'm not going to, only because she made it up, because when I've been in trouble, she's literally given me money like my big sister several times. She's literally like my big sister here. And and not just that, when I didn't have a job, like when I first quit working at abroad, she was literally sending me job leads like every day, and several of them. So I owe her. She definitely pulled through when needed. So I disagree with her when it comes to how she handles arguments, but she's a real one when it comes to, being there for me friend-wise. So we might not agree on our issues with what makes you black, but I have to admit, can't bite the hand that feeds you, basically. She's good to me where it counts, but I can never like really read her mind. Like she comes off as somebody that doesn't really like me, but then her actions show otherwise. Like the way that she talks to me is not nice. She seems to not like hanging out with me. She seems to feel awkward when it's just me and her. But at the same time, again, like when we do hang out and when I am in need, she's the one to be like, are you all right? Are you okay? No. Rent, are you okay? How are you living? How are you surviving? No, let me give you some money. She's that type of person. And I swear it's not just the money, but just the fact that like she checks in on me. She really cares about me. She really went out of her way to try to find me a job. And that was, something that I will forever be grateful for. So I'm not trying to talk crap about them. I'm sorry. And the even worse thing is, this particular friend, I told you guys a story too, which some of you might remember. I accidentally sent her my YouTube video, I think more than one. I was airdropping, because that's how I normally do it. I airdrop my videos from my phone to my computer, and I accidentally sent it to my neighbor, which was her. And it gets even weirder. I was not friends with her when we were neighbors. We never even spoke to each other. We just so happened to have coincidentally ended up working for the same company. And so after we started working together, she recognized me and asked me, didn't you used to live in this place in Kobe? And I was like, yes. Something like, how does she know that? She was like, I was your neighbor. I remember you. And then it got so weird because she just moved from being my next door neighbor. And so it seemed so weird. It was like I had stalked and followed her there, but I had no idea she was, going to be hired or working for this company. And I had never really heard about this company, I don't think. I might have applied to them maybe once or so, like years earlier, but I didn't remember the name or anything. This wasn't, some big, well-known school or something. So it was really weird, really coincidental, freak, accident, incident, whatever type thing. So yeah, that's what makes it even weirder. So I'm just really grateful that she never talks to me about YouTube because I know that she knows I have a channel. So for all I know, she probably sees these videos too. And again, like, I hate to say it, but I'm just being real. I'm speaking my mind, how I feel. I don't hate these people. They get on my nerves sometimes. We disagree with stuff. And I feel like the odd one out oftentimes because I'm a lot younger than them. And again, like, they have really strong feelings on blackness or whatever. Like, in their book, I'm like on the borderline of being black and not being black enough, which is really interesting. So I just try to listen to them and try to, bite my tongue because they always be saying stuff about, black, relationships with Japanese people. So I'm done. This video can go on forever. So I'm going to end it here. I'm done with my journal, got my energy out. I am tired. I'm probably going to go take a nap. I need to finish cleaning. I need to dry my shoes first. I just got to be washing my house shoes. I've been doing laundry today. So yeah, that is that. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.